world today, we are slowly as humans becoming addicted to technology. But what happens when our heavy usage of technology starts to interfere with our natural abilities of sleeping? The National Sleep Foundation reported that almost everyone they surveyed, 95% specifically, uses some type of electronic like a television, computer, video game, or cell phone at least a few nights a week within the hour before they go to bed. Let's first look at how technology's disruption is having an effect on our primary, most critical sleep hormone, melatonin.
So we have this hormone out of many hormones. It's called melatonin, and it's secreted in the brain, and it gets released generally about an hour or so before you normally go to bed.
The realities is that our sleep cycle and our ability to sleep is actually really much dictated by light, and we're a diurnal species. So like our exposure to light, and then the removal of that light has a lot to do with our ability to go to sleep. White light, which contains all the wavelengths, is one of the things that literally break down melatonin. Like the exposure to light breaks down melatonin. It's one of the reasons why when you're exposed to certain types of light, let's say, you're sleeping in on a Saturday morning and, mom or dad or sister or brother comes in and flips on a light in the room, you might get mad, but then you're able to go to sleep, versus them opening the windows and now it's in your eyes and it actually removes the ability to easily sink back into sleep by causing melatonin breakdown.
Artificial light exposure between dusk and the time we go to bed at night suppresses release of the sleep-promoting hormone melatonin, which enhances alertness and shifts circadian rhythms to a later hour, making it more difficult to fall asleep. Studies have shown that screen time, when people are using their technology, is most heavily used the hour before sleep.
When you keep lights bright, or if you are on your phone or whatever, for a good portion of the night, the light is basically tricking your brain into thinking that it's daytime still. So melatonin does not get released, which makes you not feel sleepy, but your body is still sleep deprived and is physically tired. So you don't feel tired, but you obviously are fatigued physically. So you have this dilemma where you'll go to sleep, let's say at a normal time, so even if you don't stay up, but you won't fall asleep till much later because your melatonin has yet to kick in.
Have you ever woken up just minutes before your alarm goes off? Humans and most living creatures have an internal clock that mirrors nature's cycles of day and night. These cycles are called circadian rhythms, and when we sleep with technology, we are actually manipulating them in a way that is ultimately disrupting our sleep cycles.
Your circadian rhythms are kind of like this internal clock that your body just kind of has, and it's a way of knowing when you should fall asleep, when you should wake up, and it coordinates kind of generally with when the sun sets and when it rises, so that you are awake when it's daytime and can do stuff, and asleep when it's dark and you are in the best state to sleep. So when you shine this light in your face, and you don't have this hormone telling you to go to sleep, your circadian rhythm kind of shifts, and what winds up happening is you have the second wind that you normally experience midday, that gives you another boost to stay awake until the sun sets, winds up shifting later, and you get the second wind at night, probably when you normally are in bed, and it's just kind of a vicious cycle where you're awake and keeping yourself awake because the night before you were doing the same thing. And the whole cycle will be shifted because you aren't in line with when your body says you should be sleeping.
Sunlight that is detected by cells in your eye's retina send messages to the brain that keep us in a roughly 24-hour pattern. These light cues trigger all kinds of chemical events in the body, causing changes in our physiology and behavior. For example, as evening approaches and there becomes less light, the hormone melatonin begins to rise and the body temperature begins to fall, both of which help us to become less alert and more likely to welcome sleep. In the morning, melatonin levels are low, body temperatures begin to rise, and other chemical shifts such as the activation of the hormone cortisol occur to help us feel alert and ready for the day.
The other day we talked about kind of one of the things that helps you kind of wake up.
Yeah.
And it's actually a stress hormone called cortisol. And it's also correlated with exposure to light and with rest, and it usually is released upon waking. And it kind of is that get up and go kind of hormone. You have this kind of melatonin kind of sinking off, cortisol kind of jump start. And so if that cortisol gets released earlier than it's supposed to, it's going to lower the quality of sleep afterwards and or end sleep. So one could argue that, if you interrupt your sleep by checking technology, if you interrupt your sleep with waking up, and cortisol happens earlier than it's supposed to, it's going to affect sleep after that. The very first way it'll affect it is simply by being when you're attending to like television or any kind of drawing your attention type of stimulus, it raises your level of awareness and arousal. And if you're doing that immediately before when you're, by definition, going to be relaxing, you're basically going to have to come down from a higher point to finally reach sleep. So I think that can actually, for lack of another word, kind of distract away from the relaxation process.
Technology like video games, cell phones, and the internet have interactive properties that affect the brain differently than technologies that are passively received, such as listening to music. The interactive devices are more alerting and disrupt the sleep onset process.
Well, your mind is not at rest. You try to, when you fall asleep, you actually try not to start thinking about anything. Mm-hmm. And if you wake up, if you've got all these things, all these unfinished items to worry about. Hey, what are you wearing tomorrow? Yeah. Then you start thinking, I don't know what I'm wearing tomorrow. It's still there, and you'll wake up in the middle of the night. Now, when you're older, and say I have a sick patient, okay? I might wake up in the middle of the night thinking about that patient. What else could be wrong with him? Because everybody wakes up a little bit during the night. Most of us wake up, we'll look at the clock, say, this is pretty silly. Why do they want to wake up now? Mm-hmm. And then go back to sleep. Mm-hmm. Okay, but if something hits your brain that you have something to do, many people are up doing that before they can fall back to sleep.
It's happening right now. There's people doing research to see whether or not you can truly disconnect, like whether the brain actually operates differently when exposed to this type of technology, whether or not, it's making us be a different kind of seeking type of kind of approach to reality. Like the idea of like that need, like we never had a need to check. And so I think simply if someone, let's say an adolescent, is concerned about what's happening on Facebook, and that represents technology, and they're going to sleep for the night, and they're kind of even a little bit thinking about that. The same way that any other type of stressor would affect sleep and depression and arousal and all these things, right. Certainly it's going to be something that's on their mind that's not going to allow them to fully rest.
Scientists are now finding that light from electronics have the potential to disrupt sleep because it sends alerting signals to the brain. Circadian rhythms seem to be especially sensitive to light with short wavelengths, in particular, blue light in the 460 nanometer range of the electromagnetic spectrum. This light, which is given off by electronics like computers and cell phones, and also by energy-efficient bulbs, has been shown to delay the release of melatonin. In other words, electronics could keep you feeling charged way past your bedtime. Although this situation seems like it would have an easy solution, like mentioned before, you should stop using your technology an hour before bed, separating yourself from technology at bedtime can actually be harder than it seems. As a product of our society's intense usage of technology, it is more than common for people to either sleep with their technology or use a device right until bedtime. I speak on this topic from personal experience. Like many people, I sleep next to my phone, and as my brain naturally starts rewiring, I keep finding myself more and more frequently waking up to check my phone during times when my circadian rhythms wouldn't naturally have me awake. And as a result, I am slowly destroying my own sleep habit. Just look at these stats. Half of our waking hours are spent looking at screens. 46% watch TV in bed on their smartphone. 51% check their mobile devices for messages before getting out of bed. 52% of Americans keep a smartphone within reach next to their bed. 60% use a tablet device in their bedroom. 70% go online just before bed to update social networking sites, send messages, and read celebrity gossip. Pointless procrastination. 70% of us have televisions in our bedroom, compared with 57% just a decade ago. 79% of us surf the web on mobile devices while lying in bed. Americans, stop destroying your sleep habits. Sleep hygiene is important, and if you're someone who sleeps with technology and you're not already developing a case of insomnia, disruptive sleep cycles are inevitably your future.